Yeah. Okay. Today we're going to begin Manaskin Mar. It's about what is that? 7 lines down from the top. No, it's more than that. It's 10 lines down from the top of the page on 15A. Yeah, very nice. Okay. Thank Hashem that they're able to learn Torah every day. This list of our learning, we should have the base of English immediately. Can you bring the book of Job? It should be on the shelf over there. Okay. We're learning Lili Nishma, Savagol the Basra Finamen, Sanos have been seeing, and Shleim Fav David Ben Sarah, and Gedali gets Eliezer Ben Begetzibayr. Okay, so the last thing we learned was that Ezra had written the book of Chronicles, Divrei Hayamim, and we said the bit that he wrote it until, excuse me, he wrote until he gave his own lineage. And after that, Manaske, the Gemara says, Nehemiah ben Chachalia. Nehemiah finished it off. In other words, after he described himself, so who finished off after that? So it says Nehemiah finished that off. Well, Amar Mar, we go back to analyze what we learned in the Brisa. Said that Yeshua, because of Shmeina Psukim Shabbatayra. Yeshua, he had written the book of Yeshua, and he had also written the 8 final verses of the Torah. Now, Tanya Kamandamar Shmeina Psukim Shabbatayra Yeshua Kasman. We're going to bring a brisa now that's going to support this, that Yeshua had written the last 8 verses of the Torah. The Tanya was started in a brisa. The brisa quotes the verse. The verse says that over there, Moses, the servant of God, died. Is it possible that Moshe died and he wrote Moshe died? How could he have written that he died if he died? Rather, until this verse, Moshe wrote. From this verse on, because of Yeshua. That's what Yeshua wrote. Who says this? Divrei Rabbi Yeshua. So Rabbi Yeshua says. This is Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua is many hundreds of years later. Maybe close to 1,000 years later. He says that is it? Do you have Rabbi Yeshua says this or Rabbi Yehuda? I have a ratio. I thought it would be cute if Yeshua says that Yeshua wrote it, but I don't know if it's really. Let me see what year. Yeshua wrote, and then it says Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. No, it says Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. Oh well, I thought that would have been nice. Or some say Ramilah Reb Nechemiah. Some say it was from Nechemiah. Okay. No, in the traditional Gemara, it only has a Rashi Tevis, which means an acronym. Which the acronym is RY. Rabbi. I thought it would be nice if it would be Yeshua, but it's not. It's Rabbi Yehuda, according to the. Although I have no clue if they know either. But okay.
Would you say that?
What?
The RY is.
Could be anyone. Yeah. Could be anyone with the Y. It's just a printer. Amalai, yeah, but Rabbi Yehuda is very common. So Amalai Reb Shimon says to him, "Efshar Sefer Torah Chasrei Sachas v'Ksiv L'Kaycha Sefer Torah." You have, if that's the case, then you have a Sefer Torah that's invalid. Yeshua wrote it because the Sefer Torah has to be complete, which means Moshe Rabbeinu had to give us the whole Torah. And according to this, Moshe didn't give us the whole Torah. It was given to us, 8 verses were given to us by Yeshua. Hashem told Moshe, take this Sefer Torah, and that must be the whole Sefer Torah. And here you have 8 verses that Moshe didn't take. Ella Ad Kana Kadosh Baruch Hu Aimer Moshe Aimer v'Kosef. This is Reb Shimon's opinion. Rather, until these 8 verses, Hashem would dictate, and Moshe would repeat back every word that Hashem said, and then he would also write it down. From here on, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem would dictate. Moshe Kosef v'dem, and Moshe would write it with tears. That's one version of this. So in other words, there's 2 things different. He didn't write it in ink, and also he didn't repeat back what Hashem was dictating. As it says further on, Baruch said to them, the Baruch is a student of Yirmiyah. He said, he said to me all of these things, and I would write it down on the scroll with ink. Which means that it was being dictated, and the student would write it down. According to whom does it go, the following verse that says the following statement, that Rabbi Yeshua bar Abba says in the name of Rav Gidl, student of Rav, says in the name of Rav, the last 8 verses of the Torah is only one individual gets that aliyah. You can't break up to 2 aliyahs. Yachid Kairesan. Only one individual can read it. Usually you can break up an aliyah into 3 verses. But here it's 8 verses, but you're not allowed to break it up. You can't. Who would say that this is like a unique section of the Torah? Rabbi Yehuda, like Reb Shimon, it must not be Reb Shimon because he says this is a regular section of the Torah because Moshe wrote this as well. Where it says no, that's not true. I feel the same with Reb Shimon. It could be Reb Shimon, but because even according to Reb Shimon, it wasn't written in ink; it was written with tears. What's wrong?
I couldn't remember the code, even though it was really easy to know code. It's 453.
Oh, you're talking about getting into the gate. Yeah, okay.
I couldn't remember that. How the funky was like, and like also the tears don't be outside the writing. So was it that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it with tears and then Yeshua just came and traced it?
Hillel is telling us
I'm asking.
that Moshe wrote it with tears, and then then Yeshua came in and traced it. I never heard that.
No, I'm asking. Was that because then here it says instead of using ink, but with tears, which do not leave permanent impression in the parchment. Furthermore, Moses did not repeat what God dictated him before writing it down, because Moses died neither in writing nor in speech. That was
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I guess the question is, so why is it kosher if you wrote it with tears? Why is that kosher? It's not with the proper ink. So it must be somehow that was eligible. That was okay temporarily. Okay. There's another version of this Gemara where it says he wrote it not pidema but pidam. He wrote it with blood. That's another version. I don't see it on the side over here, but I've seen that in the past. I'm not sure where.
What were the final verses? What are those lines that you're talking?
And
about
Moses' burial. Okay,
But
now
how would it make a difference?
Why can't we just say that he wrote with ink while he was crying?
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Not that he wrote it with his tears. The dema means while he was crying.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good shot. Very nice. Is that possible? The commentaries, any commentaries say that?
15.
Rashi Hayel, they're saying, is Rashi. Yeah, from Rashi it looks like Rashi later on Hayel Veshtanu. Moses wrote these verses with tears in place of ink. Okay. Yeah, it's not so simple. Yeshua Kasav Sifra, the Gemara says that Yeshua wrote the book of Yeshua. There was this the Torah and Science Conference. Remember, they used to have this every year. So there was this professor that would come, I think Aviezer was his name. Do you remember him? He would come and talk. It was very funny. So he would talk about evolution. He would say, someone wrote a book about the Big Bang. He had no imagination when making titles for his book. He called it the Big Bang. Anyway, that's Yeshua. Yeshua writes his sefer and he names it of course. He names it Yeshua. Okay. So Vaksiv, 1 second, how could Yeshua write the book of Yeshua? It says Vaksiv, Vayamas Yeshua ben Nun Eved Hashem. It says in the book of Yeshua that Yeshua died. Can't write that. And then still you can't die and still write that. Right? So it says no, with Daske Elazar, it says Elazar finished it off. That would be Elazar the Kayan. It says Vaksiv, no, that can't be. Vaksiv Elazar ben Aaron Mace. It says that Elazar, the son of Aaron, also died. As well, Daske Pinchas was completed by Pinchas. Pinchas was his son. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron, right? Shmuel Kasav Sifrei, we go further. It says Shmuel wrote the book of Shmuel. Okay. Vaksiv Shmuel Mace. It says that Shmuel died in the book of Shmuel. It says, well, Daske God Navi. This is a little bit more problematic because the term Daske means to complete, and Shmuel passes away in Shmuel 1, not in Shmuel 2. Yeshua passed away at the end of Yeshua. Shmuel passed away very early on, almost to less than halfway through the book.
Of Shmuel
of the whole Shmuel. Well, Shmuel, you see, at the end, before Shaul died, the Shmuel Aleph ends with Shaul's death, right? That's how Shmuel Aleph ends. And then it starts, Shmuel Beis starts with the crown and it's being brought to David, after that battle. But Shmuel had passed away already 2 years earlier or whatever.
So all of
Shmuel Beis was not Shmuel. And so who wrote Shmuel Beis? It would be Gad HaChayzev and Asnanavi.
Want to rename it?
Yeah, they should rename it.
Yeah. It's funny that the whole thing's called Shmuel, but only half of it
Was written by Shmuel, right? Yeah, I heard a share from someone in Muncie, Rabbi, I forgot his name now. Had these shiurim on davening, like hundreds of shiurim, just explaining every bracha. It was like long, lengthy shiurim, and he had a shiurim on Navi as well. One of his shiurim, he was trying to propose that Shmuel was divided to Shmuel Aleph and Shmuel Beis even before the non-Jews divided it. And when it says of Shmuel Kasav Sifrei, it means Shmuel Aleph, so that division was during the days of Chazal as well. I don't know, it's hard to buy that. But anyway, from this, this is maybe that would be, anyway.
You said you mentioned that some of these were, could it be that happened in Shmuel's?
How was it reorganized? I mean,
Like
what was
order.
oh, that's the order. No, but that's one book.
Maybe in this one book could not have been.
No, because it's chronological.
Or could it be after he died?
Yeah.
Shmuel replaced David.
Yeah. Now it says David Kasav Sefer Tilma. The Asars came. David wrote the book of Tilim with the help of 10 elders. So we had a list of the 10 elders yesterday. They were Adam Arishon, Malki Tzedek, Avraham, Moshe, Haman, Yedusun, Asaph, and the 3 sons of Korach. Okay. Well, the Gemara asks, the 3 sons of Korach, the psalm that says the song of the sons of Korach. Okay. Well, the Gemara asks, what about Esan Hazrachi? It says Maskil Esan Hazrachi, that's a psalm. Maybe he wrote other things and we didn't put that in. There should really be 11 elders that helped David write the Tehillim. Amarav, Esan Ezrachi is Avram. No, Esan Ezrachi is another name for Avram, and we said Avram. There's only 10. Esan, you know what Esan means? Strong. Strong. Ksiv Hach, over here it says Esan Ezrachi, Ksiv Hasa Miheir Mi Mizrach Tzedek. What's the end of the verse? I don't have it in my Gemara. Ezrach may mean from the east. Yeah. Okay. It's referring to Avram. Kachashiv Moshe v'Kachashiv Haman. The Gemara says 1 second. 1 second. In amongst those 10, you have number 4 was Moshe, number 5 was Haman. We have a maskil Haman. So not Haman, but Haman. Haman was a I think it says that Shlomo Melech, we'll see in a moment. Let's go further, we'll see. It says 1 second. We have a problem here. Haman is Moshe. Haman is Moshe, and he's listed twice. He's listed once as Haman. He's listed once as under the name Moshe. It says over here Haman. But here, when it's referring to, it says that Shlomo Melech was wiser than all of the people in the world, including Haman and some other people. And it says, who is Haman in that verse? It's referring to Moshe. So how could we have Haman and Moshe being listed as the 10 if it's the same person? One second. Rashi mentioned something else over here that Asaf if we say that Esan is included, then we would take out Asaf we would put Asaf in as one of the sons of Korah. Okay, that's fine. That doesn't affect us. Good. Right. So the question here is how do we have two Haman and Moshe? He's listed twice. So the Gemara answers Trey Haman Hava. There are 2 Hamans. There was a Haman that's Moshe in the book of Kings when it says that Shlomo Melech was wiser than Haman, and that's referring to Moshe. Granted, so but then it's spelled the same. Yeah. No, that's Haman. This is Haman. Then there's another Haman in Tehillim, which is not Moshe. So the fact that we have Haman, no, I don't think so.
Funny, all of this relates to Basra, which is like dividing inheritance.
Yeah. Well, how did this come in? This came in because we're talking about dividing scrolls.
And
So
that
we started
came
to talk
because
of
dividing
partners. So dividing the scrolls, we said about the. Oh, thank you.
It's organic.
It is? Okay. So there's 2 Hamans. Moshe Kosev Sifrei Parshas Bilam V'Iyov. Says Moshe wrote his book, which is the Torah. He wrote Parshas Bilam, which we discussed yesterday, what that is. And he also wrote Iyov. Messiah Leila Rab Levi Bar Lachma. This is a support for Rab Levi, the son of Lachma. Rab Levi Bar Lachma Iyov Mei Moshe Haya. He holds that Iyov, Job, was in the days of Moshe. We don't know where to place Iyov. Where exactly was he in history? They say, well, we're going to have a bunch of opinions here, but one of them is, it was in the days of Moshe, and Moshe actually wrote that story. Moshe is the author of the book of Job. Yeah, we'll have that here.
Possibilities.
It's in here.
And the
That's
last
brother-in-law, man. He's the family.
book of
Yeah.
Iyov.
That's according to this opinion. Moshe wrote it. Yeah.
craziest thing was that
Right. We'll have that all in this Gemara. So it says, very good. It says, over here it says, who will give and write down my words? And it says over there, how will I know that you've forgiven the people and that you'll never choose another nation? Who said that? That was Moshe. And who says the Ephai? Basically, we're taking the word Ephai. We're learning, Ephai, it says Ephai. That was said by Moshe. So Ephai, the other Ephai, was also written by Moshe. It was in the book of Iyov. One second, you're learning from the word Ephai. That tells me that he used that word, and that's like how we're figuring out who wrote it. It says maybe it was in the days of Yitzchak. T'ksiv mi Ephai hu atzad Sayin. When Esav shows up and brings the food to Yitzchak, so Yitzchak says, "No, I already gave the blessing to the person that brought me the food." He says, "What? Who brought? Someone brought it." Yitzchak says, "Who was it that brought me the food before? Who was it that brought the game?" Ve'ema b'mei Yaakov. Maybe it was in the days of Yaakov. Just talking about when they're going down to Yosef, and he said not to come down without your brother. And Yaakov says, "No, you should bring him almonds and fruits from the land of Israel." And Yosef. And maybe it's in the days of Yosef. He asked the angel, or he asked the man in the field, where are they shepherding, pasturing? The Gemara says, that's not what we meant when we said that Moshe wrote the book. It wasn't an Ephai thing. It was the Ksiv Miyitin B'Sefer V'Yuchaku. Moshe who the Ikri Mechayik Ksiv Yareshis like Yisham Chalkas Mechayik Ksafin. It says that who would put it in the scroll and engrave it, and Moshe is the engraver. It says that he saw what was first for him, and over there is the Mechayik is buried. Mechayik is the engraver, the one that makes the laws. Rav Amar, okay, so far that was one opinion. That was Levi, that it was in the days of Moshe. Rava says, Iyov was in the days of the spies. They came into the land of Israel. They sent spies. So that's when Iyov was living. Ksiv Hacha, over here it says, Ishay Bertzutz Iyov Shmai. That there's a man, the first introduction to the Iyov is, there was a man who lived in the land of Utz, and his name was Iyov. Ksiv Hasam, but there it says, Hayesh Ba'etz, that's almost the same word. They said to go to the land of Israel to spy out to see if there's a eitz. Sounds like Utz. So that must be referring to Iyov.
And Iyov has his own sefer.
Yeah. Here it is. This is the book of Iyov. Yeah, it's not common to learn it in yeshiva. The Hebrew in Iyov is very hard, but you could figure it out. It's just this is not it's not like something you could read. The other books of the early prophets you could read. You could read in Hebrew, basically. But this Hebrew is a hard Hebrew. There's a lot of words that you need a dictionary. And okay, it's also hard because there's some philosophical questions that can disturb you while you're reading it. So
don't tell the professor.
we'll get into it. You'll see.
Personality.
Ksiv Hasa, the Gemara says me dummy. 1 second. Just because over there it says Utz and over there it says Eitz. So you're making that's when he lived. Hacha Utz Hasam Eitz. It's a different word. Achikam, this is what it means. Achikam lu Moshe Yisrael. This is what Moshe told to the Jewish people. Yeshnei la'isai adam sheshnei savruchis ke'etz. There's a person that's there that's living as long as a tree. I don't know how long trees live, but and that's when Megan al Kates, and he's protecting his generation just like a tree protects the land. From the what? How does the tree protect the land?
Erosion, by flowing water.
Erosion.
Protects against
No,
erosion.
that's how
Can't
the
by-
tree doesn't protect from the water. The tree grows. from the
Or
water.
protects the land by holding.
Oh, is that what it means?
No
Okay.
erosion.
Shade, no? It provides shade.
Shade. Okay.
A lot
The
of good
professor's saying
benefits.
also from erosion.
That's very deep.
So,
What kind of trees along the canal?
there's a little pun over there. He said that's very deep. Okay. I'm sorry? It doesn't say what kind of tree. Yeah.
What is cypress?
I'm sorry?
Cedar?
No,
I guess
we're saying
cedar
over here
tree,
that
Lebanon.
Moshe sent the spies to the land of Israel to see if they had protection. Because we're going to conquer the land of Israel, land of Canaan back then. If we're going to conquer the land, were they protected? So how would they be protected if there was a man over there that was protecting the generation like a tree protects the land? So who was that man? That was referring to Eve. His merits would protect. Here we're talking about merits. If he had a lot of merits. Well, that's why remember this when the spies went in, so that when they came back, they said that it eats the inhabitants because everyone was dying, and I think the Medrash said or Rashi said or someone that Eve died, and there was like this big funeral, and that was really to distract the people from catching them. And they came back and they complained that no, everyone's dying there. It was for their benefit, and then they complained about
I think you said like every day that they were there, it was like a different funeral.
a different funeral. Right.
Hashem was keeping them busy and.
Right. Yosef Omer Rabbanu Kamei Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani. There was one sage that was sitting in front of Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani. But Yosef Kamer, and he said, Iev never happened. It's just a parable.
Whoa. Always.
Amalei. So Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani says to him, Alech Amar Kra, regarding your pshat, the pasuk clearly says that that's not accurate because it says Ish Haya Beretz Utz. There was a man in the land of Utz. Iev Shmai, his name was Iev. Obviously, there was a man. That's what the pasuk says. There was a man. Not there was a parable. He says back, Alamayata. You want to say every time it says there was a man, like once upon a time, you have to say that has to be a true story. It says over there. It says that after David had taken Bathsheba as a wife, so Nasan Navi comes in and tells him a parable. Says that there's a rich man and a poor man, and the poor man only has one little sheep, and the rich man comes and takes the sheep. So he's supposed to be an example that David has other wives. He's coming. He takes Uriah Hittite's only wife, and over there it says, and the man lay with like a pet. The man lay with his sheep. And he uses the word batihi, batile labas. Anyway, so no.
It is a family shear.
No.
Whoa,
It just
whoa,
says
edit
it
that
uses
out.
the word was.
Take your
It says-
bad language out.
It says what? And so he says, you want to say because it says the word was, like once upon a time, therefore you want to say that parable that Nasan Navi said was actually a true story. That was just a parable. So too over here, when it says there was a man, it's only a parable. So he replies back. He says, why do you have to give his name and the name of the city and all of that? If it's just a parable, you can just say there was a man. That's how all the kids' stories go with it. Right? Actually, some of them have names. But okay.
Was
Okay.
Eob Jewish?
I'm sorry?
Was Eob
come on.
Jewish?
Wait a little bit more.
Wait.
One difference was that he was like one of Pharaoh's advisors.
Ah. Yeah, that's from the Medrash. I don't know if that's in here. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar, Damitavayu. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar say, they both say, this is Rabbi Yochanan and his students, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Elazar and Pedas. He says, when they came back from the exile in Babylonia, so Iev came together with them and he settled in Tveria. That's where he studied. Meisvei, there was a question, how could you say that? He came back, he was there at the beginning of the second temple. We have a source that says the days of Iev or from the time the Jewish people went into Egypt till they went out, till they left Egypt. This maybe could go along with that other tradition that Eve was one of the advisors. Pare. Well, yes, sir, that's what we have. I think that we have from the Medrash, I think. So here it says that he was from during the time when the Jewish people were in Egypt. Now you're telling me that it was during the time of the Second Temple. It's not that he was there during that time. He was there the amount of time that the Jewish people came into Egypt to the left, which means that he lived for 210 years. A little bit longer than today. Meisvei, the Gemara is a question. Reb Naftali, listen to this. Shiva Nevi'im Nisnavalu Masailam. The nations had seven prophets. The non-Jews had 7 prophets. Beluhain, and they are Bilam, Aviv, Bilam and his father. Tosfos explains, well, how do we know Bilam, his father was? Because we have another Gemara in Megillah that whenever we say that a prophet and his father's name, how's it? Yecheskel, I forget what the example Yecheskel and Buzi, or it says over there, one of the prophets, Yeshaya ben Amitz, I think it says Yeshaya ben Amitz, that Amitz was also a prophet. That's what it says. So it said, why do you have to mention the father's name? Must be the father was also a prophet. So when it says Bilam ben Ba'ar, so Bilam is a prophet, so Ba'ar is also a prophet. Eoif, he was one of the prophets for the nations. Eliphaz Atimani, who Bildad Hashechi, V'Tzefer and Amasi, Ve'elihu ben Barachel Abuzi. Okay, so we have 7 prophets for the nations. And we seem to be saying that he was Jewish. And here we're saying that he seems to be not Jewish. According to what you just said, Elihu ben Barachel Am Yisraelu, Elihu ben Barachel wasn't Jewish. But Ram says he came from the family of Ram. Ram could be Avraham, right? And it could be that would mean that he's Jewish. Ella, rather, what we meant that the nations had 7 prophets is invi la'ummah. They prophesied for the nations, not that he was not Jewish. He was a prophet for the non-Jews. Doesn't mean he wasn't Jewish. He said his prophecy for them. So Sachanami Iyah was really Jewish. He just prophesied for the non-Jews. Where it says, what do you think? Other prophets, they didn't prophesy for the nations. All the prophets had prophecies for the nations. It says you're gonna win, they're gonna fall in battle or whatever. That's everyone is prophesying for the nations. So the Gemara, there's not only 7. There's the other prophets, the main prophecy was for the Jewish people. And yes, it also mentioned the nations. But over here, there were 7 prophets that their main prophecy was for the nations. Meisvei, the Gemara is another question. Chassid Hayibu Masailam was a righteous man amongst the nations. The Eiv Shmai, his name was Eiv. He came into the world to receive his reward. He started to get afflictions. Hashem brought on him afflictions. He started to blasphemy. Hashem, so Hashem doubled his reward in this world so that he shouldn't get any reward in the world to come.
Whoa, not fair.
Here we're seeing that Eiv was clearly a non-Jew. And it seemed before we were saying that he was Jewish. Yeah.
At the beginning, this page, Russia has a commentary that he was supposed to live 70 years, but his suffering was for 70. And Hashem rewarded him with double the lifetime. He won't 40, that's why he lived to him.
Yeah, so Rashi says, Hill is pointing out, Rashi says that Eiv was supposed to live 70 years. Hashem doubled his years. That means he lived 140. And so he gave him the extra 140. That would be 210. As we said that he lived as long as the exile, Egyptian exile. So that would mean that he got the suffering. When he was 70 years old, and that's when he got the extra, the extra double lifetime. Okay.
I thought he only sinned like in his heart or something. Right? I thought he did
Yeah.
not.
Right. Over here, it's not putting it like that. We'll see in the next page. It's gonna, these big wide pages. Yeah, it's all gonna discussing that. Well, Tanaihi, there's a machlekes. The Tanya was started in the Brisa. Rabbi Elazar Eimer Eve Mei Shveita Sheiftim Haya. It's interesting. Rabbi Elazar. This is not the Rabbi Elazar that's a student of Rabbi Yochanan, because he said Eve was by the second temple. Here, this is Rabbi Elazar. This is Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua. He says that Eve was during the days of the judges. Shenemar, it says Hinatim Kul Chem Chazisem. He says, you all of you saw. Why are you acting vain or something? Which generation was entirely vain? This is a generation of the judges that the people were corrupt then. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha is a student of, a son possibly of Rabbi Akiva. He says, Eve was in the days of Achashverosh, during the two temples, right? Shenemar, it says, there were no women that were as beautiful as the daughters of Eve in the whole land. Which generation were they looking for beautiful women? That must be the generation of Achashverosh. He was looking for a new wife to replace Vashti. So that was when Eve lived.
Must be George then. Beautiful.
David. Maybe it was in the days of David. It says that they were looking for a woman to warm David at the end of his life. So that would also be, it could be maybe Eve was in the days of David. It says Hasan b'chol gvul Yisrael. Over there it says they searched in the land of Israel. Acha b'chol aretz. But by Eve it says in all the land. That's different. So that must be the days of Achashverosh. Rav Nassan says Eve mei malchus shvahaya. Sorry?
How can there be an opinion that he lived after Moshe Rabbeinu died? If Moshe wrote the book.
Right. Right.
How did Pharaoh have a Jewish advisor?
That was my question.
Right. Must be an alternative opinion.
Choose your own adventure.
Now it says he lived in the days of the kingdom of Shva. That Shva came and took them away. I think this is referring to Eve's to his is this his flock or something? What verse is that? Eve chapter 1. Says what verse? And it says the Shva came. Verse 15. So it says people Shva v'teikachim. The oxen were plowing and the she donkeys were grazing alongside them when the Sabians, the Shva people, came and they seized them, struck down the servants by the edge of the sword. Only I by myself escaped to tell you. So he lived in the days of Shva, that he was in days of the Chaldeans, in the Kastim, in days of Nebuchadnezzar. Shenema Kastim Shamu Shleisha Rashim. What verse is that? Anyone have that? Yeah, it's verse 17.
17.
It says, another one came and said, the Chaldeans formed 3 divisions and deployed around the camels and seized them. He struck down the servants by the edge of the sword. Only I myself came. Okay. So that would be in the days of Nebuchadnezzar. Days of Shva sounds like going back to the days of King Solomon. And the Yeshaimrim, some say even May Yaakov Haya, that Eve was in the days of Yaakov, Dina Bas Yaakov Nasa, and Dina, the daughter of Yaakov, married him. Sivhacha Kedaber Acha Sanavalis Tedabri. You speak like one of the disgusting people. Sivhasam Kinavalas Asabi Israel. That a disgusting thing took place in Israel. I was talking about the rape of Dina. So that would be referring to that would alluding to that Dina married Eve. Comes out that everyone holds that Eve was Jewish except for the Yeshaimrim, the Yesh Imrim said before that Eiv was in the days of Yaakov. Now, if it was Yaakov, we know that he wasn't one of Yaakov's sons. Must be he wasn't Jewish. Okay.
Doubt Pharaoh had no Jewish supplies. Probably
These because if he was from the nations, if he was from the nations, is it possible that after Moshe passed away, the Shekhinah would dwell, which means prophecy would come to a non-Jew? But the master taught, it was Moshe requested that the Shekhinah not dwell on any of the non-Jews, and that was granted him. That me and your nation should be separated, which means distinguished. That they shouldn't have, they should have the Shekhinah and not the other nations. Amar Rabbi Yochanan.
Wasn't that one of the curses?
That one? Yeah, that's another one. Yeah. That they lived alone. Yeah, but this is Moshe much earlier, and in Shemais, after the Egel, Moshe asked that once they were forgiven, Moshe asked for extra things. So it's a time. So he said, "I want the nation to always be unique." And that was granted. We read that on the. We read it on the fast days. Nevertheless. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan says, that the generation of Eiv was filled with licentiousness. Shenemar, fancy word. Ein atem kulchem chazisim v'lamazeh hevel tabayim shuvi shalamis shuvi nechsabach. It says, all of you have seen. That's in Pasuk in Eiv. And look at this vanity. And it also says, return, the shulamis, return, and we will look at you. Referring to that sort of gazing was a gazing at the shulamis, at the woman. And the Gemara says, hey, how do you know that's what it's referring to? Maybe when it says gazing, the nechse, maybe it's referring to prophecy. And it wasn't licentiousness. The prophecy, the vision of Yeshaya, of the Isaiah the prophet. So then what do we have the vanity that it talks about? Okay. That was what Rabbi Yochanan said. Now another statement of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, why does it say, and it was in the days, the beginning of Rus, was in the days of the judges, when the judges judged. So he says, it's talking about when people judge the judges. Amalai, they would say like this: if the judge would tell the person, you really have to fix something that you're doing wrong, there's a toothpick that's between your eyes, you have to take it away. Amalai, the person in court would tell the judge, you have a beam between your eyes. What are you telling me what to do? You have much bigger, you're more corrupt than I am. Amalai kasvay lesigim says that your silver has dregs. Amalai savecha mal b'mayim says your wine is mixed with water. It said, they would tell the judge that, what do you mean? You're worse than us.
Not in Rhode Island.
No, not in Rhode Island. Right. I'm Shmuel Bar Nachmani. I'm Rabbi Yonasan. Shmuel Bar Nachmani says the name of Rabbi Yonasan. Kol Aimer Malchus Sheva Isha Haisa in Elataya. When it says that it was Malchus Sheva, that Queen Sheva, it's not referring to a woman queen. It's referring to the kingdom. My Malchus Sheva, what does it mean? The kingdom of the queen of Sheva. Malchusa de Sheva means the kingdom of Sheva. Okay. Here's where we start the whole discussion of the background of Eiv. We have another few minutes. Yeah.
That's 10 minutes out.
Okay, we'll start it. It says, it was that day, the angels came to gather around Hashem. And Satan came together with them. Hashem says to Satan, "May I and Tava, where are you coming from?" Satan says, "I was floating around the earth. I was checking everything out." He says, "Master of the world, I was floating in the whole world. There's no one like Avram. He's the most trusted servant." You told him, then I walked this way and that way in the land of Israel because I'm going to give it to you. And nevertheless, when he couldn't find a place to bury his wife Sarah, we had to actually pay 400 coins. But here, he did not question your attributes. Hashem says to Satan, did you notice Eve? He's pretty good too. There's no one like him. He's very faithful and trustworthy. Rabbi Yochanan says it's greater what it says about Eve than what it says about by Abram. But deal about Abram, by Avram it says, now I know that you fear God. It says that he's wholehearted and upright and fearing of God, and he strays from evil. My Sarmira, what does it mean he strays from evil? He goes away from evil. He would be mevater. How do you say mevater in English? Liberal?
Shoes.
Yeah, it means to give up.
Concede.
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 Forgiving, it says.
Okay. Forgiving. Everyone was forgiving with his money. What was the word you used? Liberal. Okay. I'm afraid to say Eve was liberal. That's yeah. Okay. Eve was forgiving with his money. The way of the world. Someone would buy something, he would give half a coin to the Chanvani. Ian Vitra Mishalai. Eve would forgo on that. Yeah, keep the change. He would give him the whole coin. The Satan says to God, and he says, what do you think? It's for nothing that Eve fears God. But you're so kind to him, so he has nothing to complain about. Of course, there's no if things would change, you blessed his household. What does it mean you blessed his household? Anyone that even gets a coin from Eve, even he gets blessed. My Meknea parts. What does it mean that his cattle spread out in the land? It broke the boundaries of the world. The way of the world is that the wolves kill the goats. When it comes to Eve's flock, says the goats kill the wolves. Stretch out his hand and touch him with everything that he has, and then we'll see if he's going to curse you. You can do whatever you want him, but him himself you can't harm. That's what it says. I guess we have to leave it here. I'll leave it right here on the bottom. Okay. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. That's the best part, yeah. Make sure you're there Sunday. I don't want to miss the end of the story.
Yeah, but say
Have a good Shabbos.
First day could be luck.
Shabbos, thank you.